At the moment, there's a large number of opportunities, job opportunities in these regional areas. And of course, what's that doing? It attracts a lot of people because one, it's affordable as well. Housing markets are a lot more cheaper compared to metro areas. So what the interesting, part is, I guess, is the shift in the market across the regional towns. And what do I mean by this? Okay, there are industries that are booming at the moment. If you could have your dream job or the same job that you're working that you love, but you could work anywhere in Australia, would you move there right away?
We believe every Australian deserves a right to own at the very least 5 investment properties. I'm Adrian Trimboli.
And I'm Frank Ambezi, and welcome to the Invest in You podcast.
Frank, you've facilitated over 200 purchases this year. You're creeping up to about $100 million worth of real estate purchased. A lot of it, and when I say a lot of it, 95% of it hasn't been in a capital city. Tell me why.
One of the biggest influences to a property market is, and I'm going to ask you, do you know what it is? Or one of the biggest, the big movers?
Infrastructure spend.
Yes, but something else, job nodes. So a creation of jobs. Okay, so I've been looking at this data very carefully. There's a website that I get, the Australian Regional Institute, and so when there is a 1,000 jobs, let's say, created in a LGA, those 1,000 jobs are going to affect property market also. Now, if we compare the 1,000 jobs and say there's going to be 1,000 jobs created in Melbourne, there's 5 million people in Melbourne. Are those 1,000 jobs going to have an effect on the property prices and the property market there? Not tremendously, okay, not a significant amount. But if I look at a regional town, and let's say you got a regional town of, say, 40,000 people, okay, population size 40,000 people, you got 1,000 new jobs that have been created. Now that there is going to affect the property market. Now, why? Okay, there's a number of reasons. Internal migration patterns moving into that region, so of course they need more. There's going to be more jobs available for that reason. That's why people are moving there. Lifestyle changes as well, and the opportunity. Okay, so I look at this and I say to people, if you could have your dream job or the same job that you're working that you love, but you could work anywhere in Australia, would you move there right away? And majority of people say, yeah, I'd love to. If I could work in my dream location, would I move there right away and still have the same income, the same, if not a greater income, and have other amenities and have the lifestyle that I actually dreamt of? Would you move there right away? And majority of people would say yes.
And what are we talking there? Before you go on, so I know what you're talking about because we've discussed this. Some properties we've bought this year are 200 meters from the beach or are in not cold Melbourne weather. Is that ultimately what you're saying here, or even just houses that are just amazing houses? What are you talking?
Yeah, just the opportunity. Some people may like, the outback, okay, and would like to go out on the outback, maybe North Queensland or, inland. Some people might want to go on the coast, maybe East Coast, West Coast, wherever it may be. And there's opportunity there to live there and live in the environment that they've always dreamt of, okay? So it just depends. There's a place like Toowoomba, it's about 2 hours west of or southwest of Brisbane, inland. No beach, no river. Who would want to live there? But there's people that want to live there. They enjoy that. It's mountainy. It's got very nice scenes. It's got a lot of amenities, a powerhouse of the economy. Then you got places like, say, Bundaberg. It's on the coast. It's inland, but as well, there's coastal as well. 20-minute drive to the coast. But there's opportunity there. The environment, people love it as well. The weather's really good. And then of course, there's other places like Byron Bay, Noosa, and other things like that. So this is what I'm talking about. But what I really want to talk about is the frequent move that happened during COVID and kind of unravel that, and how people said, oh, it was a COVID boom. Of course, regional towns are going to go on fire. People are leaving, metro cities, especially Victoria, because, it was number one lockdown state, and they want to go out into regional towns or other areas. Okay. But they're going to come back. So I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about the opportunity that's happened in regional towns, what it's doing to the economy, and how it's making the property market, have this tremendous amount of growth, how this is one of the key factors here or metrics that we look at that I think it's a very, very positive thing, and this gives us a lot of certainty.
Awesome.
So regional towns and, of course, the metro labor force rates have increased across the country. Okay. Regional labor demand is also near a record high, okay, and not falling as low as the metro Australia. Okay, so if you take that in consideration, you've got the labor force, especially in the regional towns, is at high demand. It's at record high. Okay, and you might be thinking, okay, well, there's too many jobs available. Are they going to be able to fill those jobs? Is there going to be a downtrend in the market? Not necessarily. So let's keep going with this. So what the interesting, part is, I guess, is the shift in the market across the regional towns. And what do I mean by this? Okay, there are industries that are booming at the moment. Okay, and they're changing the economy. So have a look at this. These are the industries that are booming at the moment. You've got construction industry, you've got wholesale trades, you've got accommodation and food services, and you've got professional services. These 4 industries. Since year to date, collectively, they've added 115,000 jobs to our regional towns. Okay. Wow. Now, this is indicating a boom, not just that, it's indicating a shift in the market and diversifying the economy for particular areas. So let's say you got an economy like let's say we'll use Townsville, for example. Townsville's big on import-export goods. They've got the military base, got manufacturing, resource sector, healthcare, educational sector, as well as booming as well. Now, it's got tourism, okay? But wholesale trades is not its main key fundamental. But wholesale trades and as well the construction trade is doing well in that industry, and it's starting to rise, which it is. Of course, that's going to have a shift on the market. The professional industry as well is shifting in that area also. So what's happening now? Instead of having 5 or 6 economic drivers driving that economy, it's starting to get more bulletproof because there's other industries starting to come in, and the population growth is going to start growing because it's going to be attracting other people.
Yep. And just a very, very, very quick note. We love Townsville. We still are investing in Townsville. So just for being a listener here, people pay us tens of thousands of dollars to find out that information. Townsville is an awesome, awesome, awesome region. Frank, you bought a property in Townsville this year, correct?
No, about to go.
Right. One of our buyer's agents did for himself personally. So awesome. Keep moving. I like it though.
Definitely. So that's where I'm loading up at the moment, going there. But our buyer's agent, yes, Ryan, I think he's a little shout out. He's purchased one there just, I think, about 6 or 7 months ago.
Yep.
So unfortunately, the tight labor markets have fallen or have failed. When you translate that, what does that actually mean? That means that there's been a bit of a decrease from wages, from the households. And so this is happening not just in regional towns, happening across the country. And what this does is, of course, it's making it tougher for the households because, of course, if unskilled work is starting to slowly drop their wages, of course, that there's going to put a bit more pressure on the people, especially living in metro areas as well. It's much more expensive to live in a metro area compared to a regional town. Okay.
Yep.
Now, what the interesting data shows is how many jobs have been, the vacancy of jobs compared to COVID. Okay, the pre-COVID average. So if we have a look at this, there's about 120% growth in regional jobs. So which is huge compared to 49% of jobs created in the metro area of growth since the pre-COVID levels. So which is pretty huge when you look at the opportunity there to going into a regional town. People, once again, we're talking about regional towns aren't bulletproof. They're gonna drop off the property market because of it's just had COVID growth. Okay, yes, that can be true for when COVID was when we had the COVID boom. What was it? 96% of regions were on fire age that got double-digit growth.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now that's not the case. We can see that there's a lot of markets that aren't performing.
And I think maybe something to highlight here as well, like there's different regional towns, right? May very well have already been the case whereby some of these regions, like the vast majority of Australia in between that COVID period, went bananas. You're not necessarily speaking about regional towns that are reliant on 1 or 2 sectors driving the economy. You're talking about these regional towns that are becoming those powerhouses, like you said. Is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
And so at the moment, there's a large number of job opportunities in these regional areas. And of course, what's that doing? It attracts a lot of people because one, it's affordable as well. Housing markets are a lot more cheaper compared to metro areas, especially if you're in Melbourne and Sydney. And of course, the desire to move to these regions because of the amenities or the lifestyle is, of course, attracting a lot of people. Now, some people might not want to move to Townsville. That's okay, but of course, there's 25 or 26 million people in Australia. There's always going to be someone that wants to move there. Okay, But once again, I go back to my point as at the start of this conversation. If you had the dream job that you had or you could have in any area in Australia that you have always desired to live in, would you move there? Would you move there today? Now, some people would, a lot of people would say yes. Some would say no, of course, maybe because they've got family and they can't leave. But there's a lot of people that would.
Yep.
Now,
I agree.
Well, what I want to talk about now is kind of like what the RBA has been suggesting, and they're talking about the unemployment rate is going to be rising to 4.5% unemployment in December 2025. Now, how accurate is this going to be? I don't know, because they said the rates weren't going to go increase by 2024, and they increased, of course, tenfold. So if we look at regional towns at the moment, unemployment's at 3.3%, and the metro area is at 3.5%. So very low unemployment rates at the moment. Okay.
Yep.
Now, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Okay. When I look at this as a good thing, if the unemployment rate is going to increase, because it creates more jobs. Of course, it means that the area or the LGA is growing also with population. And when people migrate there, they might not have a job for a while. So it shows us signs and it gives us more opportunity, job opportunity. Okay. And what this will do, it will increase the GDP in Australia. Because if we ever think about it, at the moment, Australia is growing quite fast from a population growth perspective. Mm-hmm. So I look at this and this is a positive thing. Now, people think unemployment has something to do with, with property prices. If it's a high unemployment rate, the property prices are going to drop, vice versa. But it's not a big data or metric that we use to say, okay, if unemployment's high, we're not going to invest there. The reason why, I'll give you an example. Noosa, one of the best property markets in Australia, top 5 best property markets in Australia in the last 5 years. Mm-hmm. From 2018 to 2021, the unemployment rate went from 6% to 7%. During that time, the property market grew 60%.
Yep.
Which is huge.
A perfect example of exactly that not being the case. That's as in unemployment not necessarily correlating with property price drops or the other way around. Okay, that's really interesting. That's very interesting.
So at the moment, there are high rates of job vacancies growth in regional towns. Is this a bad thing?
I'm sure you're going to tell us. I'm excited to understand. Please.
Well, let's have a look at this and break it down. So what does this do? It creates higher wages because of the high demand. So a lot of people, you always hear they'll move to these regional areas. I know my brother got offered an opportunity to move into a regional town. He was literally going to get paid an extra $40 extra per an hour to be a nurse. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you get higher wages because of the demand.
Yep.
The opportunity to move to a place that you love also. So that attracts a lot of people. It increases the net wealth for people moving into these regions. Once again, you live in Melbourne, you got the median house price is $1 million or just slightly over. Of course, let's say you got a house worth 1.5. You sell up, move over to a regional town. You can buy literally a house that's very similar, if not in greater condition, and with a pool and all the other things that you would like in a house for a fraction of the price. So very affordable, plus the cost of living is a lot cheaper. Companies or governments, depending on the role, of course, will pay for accommodation or benefits for subsidizing rents as well, which is a great thing and it attracts a lot of people. Also, one of our workers his wife is a teacher. They were living in a regional town, and of course, they were subsidizing their rent and living in a location that they liked. So once again, that offers a lot of positive things. Now, what does this do? It increases the activity in the LGA. So when I mean the activity, the buying and selling activity in the LGA creates, of course, it creates this steam in the economy. Of course, especially if you've got 1,000, or if not 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people migrating to these areas. Okay, and you got a population size of under 100,000 people. That's going to have an effect on the property market. Okay, it's going to create property prices to increase and rental prices to increase also. So these are the positive things that are happening, and it's still continuing.
Yeah, and I think, it was just a few episodes ago, the episode on internal migration versus external migration, and as you've just listed right there, that the people that are moving from within Australia out to these different regions, wherever it is, those are the people that are going to have a bigger impact on the actual property prices, potentially the rental, but really that is where your external migration comes in. But these people who are on big incomes have sold a property, have been paid, $40 more, like you said, for your brother, but extensively more than what they're originally on, coming in and actually buying these properties, having an effect on the activity going on in that LGA. Love it. Love it. All right, let's get going.
Even like, for example, I bought a property in WA this year. I bought two. And one of them, I got my tenant, and he's a gentleman that's earning over $300,000 a year.
Beautiful.
And I was, like that. That gives you certainty. Of course, a good high quality tenants. The rents, for that property around, I think it's around $675 per week. He's a good quality tenant. We've had our inspections done already after 6 months. The property's clean and tidy. So, you can attract some really, really good quality tenants as well when you're purchasing in some of these regional towns as also. So it's not something to be scared about and say, oh, the quality of tenants not going to be, superior to the people in the metro area, or, you're going to get, the problems there with rent defaults and all these things because there's jobs and there's not enough work. If you do the right research and you have a look into the region and understand what's going on and have the right property management team and, of course, the right team around you, you can minimize all these risks.
Of course. Absolutely. Regional does not mean outback, no professionals, no people earning good money. All the people earning good money live in Melbourne or Sydney. It's not the case at all. I've had more problems with my Melburnian properties, hence why I've sold 2 this year, than a lot of my other properties across the country. But anyway, let's keep rolling.
So when we look at this, Australia, of course, at the moment, the cost of living is, it's increasing pressures pretty aggressively at the moment. Okay, we can all agree and see what's going on with interest rates and, of course, higher mortgages. Of course, in capital cities, it's creating a lot of pressure on Australians. So the population is on the move, of course, and it's bigger in bigger numbers before the pandemic. So what I mean by this, in the last 12 months, from September 2023, to September 2022, capital to regional migration has accounted for 11% share of relocation. So there's more people. So there's 11% of people migrating from in the last 12 months have migrated from from capital cities to regional towns. It's greater than when it was pre-COVID. So what research shows from the Regional Australian Institute shows 1 in 5 metropolitan Australians are moving from capital cities into regional Australia.
That's madness.
Okay, and what's interesting, if we look at the data during COVID, okay, the regional towns across Australia grew about 70,000 people from 2020 to 2021. Okay, because of number of reasons during that pandemic. In 2023, regional migration is up 16% of the pre-pandemic levels. Okay, so this means that people are sticking in the regions, in the regional towns. They're staying there, and it's actually growing. And so when we look at this data, I look at this and go, okay, this is amazing. What are the reasons? Why are people leaving capital cities and moving into regional towns? 1, reducing costs. These are the 3 factors. This is what's been surveyed. These are the 3 factors: reduced cost, avoiding traffic, and, of course, minimizing stress.
I had no idea that was actually the case. And I get this brief and I sort of ran past it. That is astonishing. It's up above pre-pandemic levels. So obviously, I mean, the logical way to look at it, not even for the novice, but just the logical way to look at it is people have made, there's been a huge surge over the 20 to 2021 period, the pandemic period, huge surge of people moving there. People have moved there and gone, holy crap, this is great. And then it's now followed suit, but it's actually increased. That's really interesting. It's really interesting. I guess, the fact that the working from home and being able to work from everywhere has increased that, or is that's obviously assisted people to actually be able to make the move. But that's really interesting that is increased. That's huge. That is huge. Has that ever been the case in over a period of 2 to 3 years? I don't know if you've got these facts or these data in front of you, but has it ever been a case whereby over a 2 to 3 year period, these amount of people have moved from capital cities out to regionals? Has that ever been the case?
There has in the past, but I think it's had a greater effect today, especially with the work from home. I think as well from not just that, I think there's a lot of money getting spent. So it's changed a lot from back in the past to now. There's a lot more money getting thrown or spent into these LGAs. And right. So what happens, of course, all the amenities are being more enhanced. There's money getting spent. There's better lifestyle features to that LGA. So of course, this is helping the economy and those regions, and so that's why people are just, have this desire to move there. Of course, if we look at like Noosa back in, in the 90s or early 2000s, of course, if you look at it now, it's come a long way. Of course, same with Byron Bay also. And these are things because of money getting spent and invested into the economy, and that's what's happening at the moment. So, I think there's a lot of positive things here. If we look at, once again, those 5 region or those 4 industries, of course, you got the construction industry at the moment. To be in the construction industry, migrating to a regional town, you are absolutely going to kill it. Okay, there's there's a high demand for tradies, and there's not enough tradies in these areas. Not just that, it's they're charging quite a quid to just do some work compared to metro areas, and there's so much work. So if you're listening to your tradie and you're thinking about, what should I do? I'm thinking about wanting to move, go to a regional area. You go to a regional area, it might be a place that you'll love to work on the coast. Okay, you're going to absolutely kill it. Okay, as well, there's not many good tradies out there. Also, of course, so if you're very good with your hands and tools and the way you serve people, you're going to destroy it. So that's one thing. Of course, then you got professional services as well, which is increasing in these regional areas, which is a positive sign. Because, of course, regional towns always look at, construction industries, a bit of the healthcare, of course, educational sectors, there's a bit of mining or agricultural as well. But now we're looking at it, of course, there's wholesale trades, there's the economy, food services and, accommodation like tourism. And then there's professional services. That there is just attracting more professionals moving to an area, of course, that have, high degrees, and they can get into professional industries. And that's, of course, a positive thing for regional towns.
Yeah, very interesting. Extremely interesting. That's, listening to that, it should excite a lot of people, right? It should excite a lot of people that have made the move and purchased properties in these regional towns over the last 6, 12, 18, 24, 36 months. But it also makes me think about some of these capital cities, which I know we're kind of going off topic here, but what these capital cities will do compared to regionals over the next 5 years. I know regional has well outperformed capitals over the last 5 years, but it's going to be very interesting to see what's actually going to occur in your Melbourne markets, in your Sydney markets, in the markets whereby people are grabbing and moving outside. That's going to be very, very interesting. Very interesting. That's maybe a podcast for 5 years' time.
Yeah, definitely. And it's pretty interesting. We look at, you can get all different types of source of data from everyone. And sometimes it doesn't really look too attractive in some regional areas, especially if you go through CoreLogic or maybe some other areas like SQM, of course. But just have a look at this and just go into a region, go into realestate.com, see what the properties are asking for or what they've sold for recently. And then just go put that 1 year back and see what the properties were selling for, similar type of properties, what they're selling for. And you can make a big observation on those property markets saying, oh my God, it's grown 20% or more. Because the median house price, when I look at data, I don't look at median house price as a great fundamental at all. I actually don't look at it at all to say, I'm going to invest in this area because the median house price has increased X-fold. It's actually just the middle price. It's not the average price. It's a middle price. And of course, when there's, less and less stock coming onto the market and there's more and more demand, those numbers can be very misleading as well. Okay. So the way you got to go about it, of course, is just trying to get comparable sales and of course, go back 1 year or 2 years and see what's going on. And it's pretty interesting. And it's what can come up. I've done an analysis on one client's property recently. It's grown 19%, and I got a similar property 1 year ago, and the difference was 26% of how much it's grown just from that one asset. And this is in a region in regional WA. And I was like, okay, well, the median house price it says on CoreLogic was 10%. Is that right? No, it's not. So anyway, I'm going a bit off topic here, but I just think for people out there looking to get into a market or start investing, I think looking into a regional town, don't be scared or afraid unless, if you're going out with your eyes closed, of course, you definitely should be scared. But if you're going to do the right research and make sure you tick all the boxes, there's no need to be scared.
100%, 110%. I think another thing here is if you do get the chance to watch specifically this podcast, I can tell you now there's going to be 4 to 5 different graphs that we've kind of gone over today. And I can tell you by myself, when I listen to one thing, it's very, very difficult. If I have a visual as well whilst listening, it really sinks in. So if there is, if you're not struggling, but if things are a little bit hard to understand because it's very technical talking, getting up the video, I think will really, really help us specifically with this podcast that we just did. But that was a beautiful one, mate. Very easy for me. I just had to sit back and listen and ask a few questions, but thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to leave the viewers with before we switch off for this week's podcast?
No, I think there's going to be a great podcast coming out in maybe next week or the week after. I've got probably one of the best research analysts in the country. I'm not going to reveal who it is. He's going to talk about the property market, about what's going on at the moment, and what he's seeing and what he's going to predict for 2024. He's helped me tremendously, or he's helped us, I should say, tremendously in this business. And he's very, very well known also. So it'll be pretty exciting to have him on. So stay tuned and make sure you listen to that episode.
Thank you very much, sir. I'll see you next week.
Ciao.